My name is Lola Golden, a sport and exercise student at Basvic. The purpose of this presentation is to analyse and interpret the biomechanical factors such as speed, velocity, acceleration, deceleration, momentum and inertia in a 200-metre race. The key focus is to focus on Amber Anning, Usain Bolt and my 200-metre data and compare them. Usain Bolt is a Jamaican sprinter, well known for his speed and ability to be the fastest on the track. Bolt holds the world record for the 100 metre, 9.58 seconds, and 200 metre, 19.919 seconds, both set at the 2009 World Championships. Bolt is an 8-time gold medalist. He is known for his dominance in short distance sprinting, particularly in the 100 and 200 metre events. Bolt has mainly type 2X muscle fibers, as his sport requires explosive bursts of energy, as well as needing his body to work anaerobically. Amber Anning is a British sprinter and ex-Basvic student who specialises in the 400 metre and 4x400 metre relay. She has represented Great Britain at various international competitions, including the European Championship and the World Championships. Anning has earned multiple national titles and is a key member of the British 4x400 metre relay team, contributing to their success on the global stage. Her strong performances in both individual and relay events have given her a strong profile of one of the best athletes in her field. Anning has type 2A muscle fibers, as her type of races require her body to use both an anaerobic and aerobic energy system when performing. Unlike Bolt and Anning, who are both extraordinarily athletes who strive in their field, I, however, have no training in athletics and lack desire and motivation in the field of sport. Instead, I am a goalkeeper in football, which means that my techniques and skills required for the sport is completely different to the ones required to run a 200-metre race. Goalkeeping requires me to work anaerobically in short bursts of explosive movement. This means that my muscle fibers will most likely be type 2X. Curvilinear motion is present round the bend. It occurs when the athlete moves in a curved path, such as turning the corner of a track. For example, in a 200-metre race, the athletes will start by accelerating into a curved track. After the bend, the athletes are moving in a straight line towards the finish line. This is rectilinear motion. To find out the average velocity of the athletes, we take the distance of the race, 200 metres, and divide it by the time it took them to finish the race. Amber Anning's average velocity is 200 divided by 24.20, which equals 8.26 metres per second. Usain Bolt is 200 divided by 19.19, which is 10.42 metres per second. And my average velocity is 200 divided by 40.57, which gives me 4.93 metres per second. The velocity here is only an average and does not reflect the variations in the athlete's speed during the race, such as acceleration or deceleration. This means it misses the acceleration phase coming out of the blocks and the deceleration phase at the end. If we break down the race into 50-metre splits, this allows us to analyse the difference in the athlete's performance when they accelerated and decelerated, which will overall identify an athlete's strengths and weaknesses. Stationary. Mass of each athlete is different. Usain Bolt has a mass of 94 kilograms, Amber Anning has a mass of 61 kilograms, and I have a mass of 70 kilograms. Heavier athletes must generate more force to achieve acceleration due to their greater inertia. Usain Bolt has the highest inertia. This means that out of all three athletes, he will have to generate the most force. Amber Anning has the lowest inertia, which means that out of all three athletes, she will need to generate the least amount of force to overcome the inertia. At the starting blocks, all athletes have zero momentum because they are stationary. 0 to 50 metre split. This phase highlights the acceleration phase of the athletes coming out of the block. Usain Bolt had a speed of 8.93 metres per second. Amber Anning had a speed of 6.83 meters per second. I had a speed of 5.11 meters per second. Bolt had the greatest velocity in this phase. This is due to his powerful start and stride length. Usain Bolt's momentum was 839.29 kilograms per meters per second squared. Amber Anning's momentum was 416.6 kilogram meters per second squared, and my momentum was 357.87 kilograms per meter squared. As we can see, Usain Bolt had the greatest momentum. This is because he has the greatest mass of 94 kilograms and a velocity of 8.93 meters per second. As we look at the graph, we can clearly see that Bolt has the steepest line, which means he had the greatest acceleration. My line was the lowest gradient, which shows that I accelerated the slowest. Bolt had the highest acceleration with 1.59 meters per second squared. Anning's acceleration was 0.93 meters per second squared, and I had an acceleration of 0.52 meters per second squared. Looking at the data, it shows that the velocity reached by Anning and Bolt was the lowest out of all the splits. This could be due to the curvilinear motion slowing them down when running the bend of the track, compared to running in a straight line later in the race. As mass increases, the athlete has more momentum at a given velocity, but it also requires more force to reach a higher velocity. This is why Bolt had to produce the most amount of force. Inertia is the resistance to change motion. Because the athletes have a velocity of 0, it makes it harder for the athletes to reach peak velocity quickly. 50 to 100 meters and 100 to 150 meter data. This phase typically shows how athletes maintain or lose their acceleration. Between the 50 to 100 meters, all three athletes had a lower rate of acceleration. By looking at the graph and data, we can see that both Anning and Bolt had reached their peak velocity at this point. This means that this point of the race was their fastest interval. For example, Anning's velocity was 10.18 meters per second and Bolt's velocity was 11.06 meters per second. Anning had the smallest difference in velocity from 50 to 100 meters. However, Bolt continued to have the fastest acceleration. This is because he had the greatest momentum that has carried on his speed from the first 50 meters. The graph shows that I had a drastic drop in my acceleration. This could be because I generated the smallest amount of momentum, which would therefore require me to apply more force to generate more speed at this point of time in the race, which is not efficient. Between the 100 to 150 meter split, both Anning and Bolt had a decrease in the steepness of their line, meaning that they have decelerated. Anning had the steepest drop in velocity compared to me and Bolt. This could be due to fatigue, or it could be a tactical element. Unlike Bolt and Anning, the graph shows that I had a slight acceleration in my speed. This interval was where I hit my peak velocity, which could be because I decelerated a lot in the previous interval, which meant I had enough energy to increase my speed again. Overall, in the middle split, the two elite athletes had the best form, while I started to tire, which impacted my timing of the interval. 150 to 200 meter data. This phase was the final phase before the finish line. This means that it's a final push, which could be a motivational boost for runners. For athletes like Anning, the graph shows that she has accelerated in the first interval at a speed of 9.19 meters per second, which could suggest that this is her running tactic of slowing down but then pushing off again in the final 50 meters. Bolt continued to decelerate to a final speed of 10.53 meters per second. This could be because he has started to tire due to reaching peak velocity in the second interval and then maintaining a high speed. For me, it was evident that in the final 50 meters my body had become fatigued due to the rapid deceleration on my speed. My final speed was 3.77 meters per second square, just meters per second, which shows that my body was tired and lacking energy. Fatigue generally slows down the performance due to the build-up of lactic acid in the muscles. This makes your body feel heavier and you can feel your legs turning to jelly, which means that your body is lacking energy to move forward and wants you to stop. Strengths and weaknesses. Annie and Bolt are both elite athletes, which means that they have great endurance, allowing them to maintain high speeds throughout the entire race, even in the later stages. This also means that they have specialised training with strength and conditioning coaches to create training programs to target the specific muscle that they should engage when running to generate the greatest speed. These type of athletes will also have a mesomorphic build, with a high percentage of fast twitch fibres. This means that their body can work anaerobically without producing a great amount of lactic acid too quickly. The fast twitch fibres also allow them to generate explosive power quickly. They also have access to high-quality technology that can be used to measure their breathing, including their total lung capacity, which can then be used in training to either improve their capacity or to make sure they are not overloading their body with overtraining. Annie and Bolt have highly developed anaerobic systems, which help them maintain higher performance levels for a longer duration. Elite runners have a more efficient running technique. That helps them to conserve energy, reducing the impact of fatigue. Their running mechanics include posture, stride length, and stride frequency are optimized to reduce energy wastage. Usain Bolt is known for having long stride frequency and length, which allows him to cover more ground with less effort, maintaining speed even when fatigued. Usain Bolt also suffers with scoliosis, where his right leg is 1 inch shorter than his left, which used to affect his stride technique. Scoliosis is a curvature in the spine. For most athletes, this can cause pain and affect the way they run. Elite runner Jennifer Timor spoke about how, with scoliosis, when running curvilinear motion around a track, instead of leaning into the track like most athletes, she keeps an upright position to prevent further pain in her back when running. Bolt has also spoken about how he has found a stride technique to cancel out the difference in his leg length, to make sure he is not at a disadvantage. Unlike elite athletes who have a specialised team of coaches including strength and conditioning coaches, nutritionists, analysts and physiotherapists, and so much more, I have a lack of knowledge of how to efficiently run a 200 metre, which makes it hard to get a good time as my body would fatigue quickly due to the amount of energy used at the start of the race. I also do not have the same body shape as the short distance runners. For instance, sprinters are known for having smaller hips, which allows them to have better hip mobility, which increases their stride length and gives them a biomechanical advantage. Lack of knowledge and training means that I have a big disadvantage in compared to elite athletes, and therefore they have much better times. However, we can use this data to see the difference in our running techniques and can then highlight the changes that I can make to get a better understanding of an efficient 200 metre run and use this in training to improve my overall performance.